Chapter 2 of the story I channeled out of love. At the end of Chapter 1, Sirona has left South Gemois and travelled to Sonnance to begin a new life that she dreams of. Chapter 2, Reality. The rail transporter glided into Gare par Icy, its arrival as bustling as Barbary Station during rush hour. Sirona observed the hurried crowd, reminiscent of her own city's busiest times. Amidst the chaos, two captivating men in pathway uniforms patrolled the station, a refreshing change from the robotic surveillance that dominated Meadow. Sonnance took a progressive approach, employing only the most attractive individuals in an effort to associate law enforcement with beauty. Everything around her suddenly became alluringly attractive. Being in Tarea was like being enveloped in a cocoon of safety, where nothing on the planet could shatter her contentment. Even the pigeons seemed happier. Sirona was quickly brought back to her reality as she remembered she needed to find her accommodation for the night. Her thoughts shifted to the comforting embrace of hot tea, like she had known in South Gemois. She spotted a robotic tea dispenser. While waiting for her tea, she was captivated by the abstract and mesmerizing sounds and scents of Tarea. Later, she boarded the correct train to her temporary shelter for the night. On the rail transporter, a southern Rilipian man entered the carriage with an accordion slung over his shoulder. The instrument, often carried by nomads, filled the air with a delightful melody, accompanied by the rhythmic beats from his digiplay. Between stations, he walked up and down the carriage, collecting denti from people's data cells for his Denti Express. By the time Sirona arrived at the hotel, the sun had set. Along her journey, she had been enchanted by the beautiful glow of Tot le Soleil, unable to resist watching the lights sparkle like reachable stars. Finding her accommodation took longer than her actual journey from South Gemois to Tarea. Despite the planet's efficient travel systems, the planet was still inefficient in embracing care and love. As Sirona entered the hotel, a musk scent greeted her. After self-checking in, she followed a robot guide to her room. Unlocking the door with a code, she discovered a small cupboard-sized space, just enough room to lay down. She thanked the robot, closed the door, and sat on the floor, which was cushioned with a thin mat. The room was dimly lit by the moonlight, seeping through a small window high in the wall. Sirona stood up, opened the window, and gazed at the sky, recognizing some of the stars she had watched outside her bedroom window back in Wittemas. The silence of the Tarea night brought her comfort. Even in silence, she felt secure as she lay back on the cushioned mat and drifted into a deep slumber. The next morning, Sirona checked out of the hotel using the self-serve data screen. With her bag in one hand and phrase data in the other, she set out to search Tarea for a job with boarding. These jobs paid very little due to the competitive market of robotic labor, but fortunately, many customers were willing to pay extra for human interaction. However, by evening, disappointment washed over Sirona. She had found no luck in finding anywhere remotely interested in employing a girl from Meadow with a weak complexion. She had expected finding a job in Tarea to be a lot easier. Reality proved otherwise. Wisely, Sirona remained calm, considering her situation. It was unwise to spend her remaining denti on accommodation without first securing a source of income. Sirona chose to sleep by Tot-le-Soleil. She located the nearest inspiration, knowing she needed to request a free street sleeper pack. These packs were a compulsory right for anyone and included a sleeper made of degradable material slightly elevated from the ground to protect street sleepers from the harsh elements. Long ago, a compassionate and genuine leader of the inspiration introduced this practice to their policy, reflecting the love of Yvest. It became a law during a time of widespread homelessness. Sirona's happiness did not waver despite the lack of job prospects and despite becoming a street sleeper. She found that to be far better than sharing a home with an intoxicated Ma. By Tot-le-Soleil, under the shade of a weeping willow, Sirona clutched her bag tightly. The willow stood tall and serene next to a small pond and grassy area that transformed into a maze of street sleeper packs at night. Sirona knew she was under constant surveillance, monitored by both planetary surveillance and the path personnel. No one asked her any questions. The world knew everyone's identity through surveillance and face recognition. This was the reality of the planet. Every corner was monitored and artificial intelligence recorded everyone's move. The only ones who escaped this surveillance were those who had the denti to pay for undetectable footprints. Even those who opposed digital tracking and refused to work or have any connection to technology were still tracked through face recognition and their digital denti. Climbing the short fence to lay by the tree at night made Sirona even more noticeable. Her digital record would now include her being a street sleeper, another piece of data for the robotic system. Sleep was often interrupted. Sleep deprivation was a tactic used to provoke social unrest. When used on a large scale, it became a tool to achieve market objectives. Despite the hardship, it was still a luxury to wake up by Tot-le-Soleil, far more peaceful than living in a cramped apartment in Wittemus. The birds began their morning chorus at the first light of day. To every human within a certain radius, there seemed to be 100 birds. It was an efficient system, automatically adjusted to maintain a delicate balance between humans and animal species based on available resources. The planet followed a mathematical equation ruled by numbers. Chief leaders said the system was necessary for survival, given the scarcity of water and the sun's damaging effects on those with weak complexions. A suit worn over clothes was required to protect weak complexions from disease. Sirona sat on a bench as she slowly awakened, surrounded by other street sleepers. The area provided ample shade under the trees, shielding them from the harmful sun rays. Like Sirona, some of the street sleepers waited until 6 a.m. when the public washrooms opened, allowing them to freshen up in the bathrooms designated for street sleeper use. With the ever-growing population of street sleepers planet-wide, it had become an industry that certain groups profited from. Access to these bathrooms required denti, but Sirona knew that cleanliness was crucial if she hoped to find employment.